I don't like racism. I don't like reverse racism. And I think this is increasingly the case in this country.
I do want to talk about some really important work that you're doing, though, Rupert. And this is why I think Reform UK is so important, because unfortunately, the Conservatives allowed this madness to go on. So let me just read out what you posted on X about this issue of anti-white racism really infecting the civil service of the UK. And you say it's disgusting that white people are being deliberately excluded from public sector jobs, internships, or opportunities. Racism shouldn't be tolerated just because it's white people on the receiving end. Whoever is signing off this poison needs to be sacked. I am investigating. And then your investigations have led you specifically to the Environment Agency, where you have written to the chair of that agency asking why white boys and white girls have been prohibited from applying for a summer internship program. And now you say that you have actually received lots of examples from the public of this sort of anti-white racism being approved of by the British state.
Well, exactly, Dan. And the Environment Agency ran an internship program where they specifically excluded British nationals, who white British people who they were favouring, other sort of sectors of society. Now, I'm, as you know, I'm driven by merit. I don't really have a view on people's religion or their sex or their sexual orientation. As far as I'm concerned, if they're the right people for the job and they win the job on merit, everybody should be in the same pot. And I think I don't like racism. I don't like reverse racism. And I think this is increasingly the case in this country that, and if you want an example of how it ultimately fails, just look at Tony Blair and David Cameron's selection policies for MPs in the House of Commons. Because a lot of the root problems of our failing government is the fact that they were selected basically on quotas, and that's quotas of sexuality, quotas of race, quotas of religion. It was all sorts of quotas, quotas of gender, and it wasn't based on merit. So what we've got is a very weak selection of MPs in the House of Commons, the Reds and the Blues. I exclude the light blues from this because we've come up by a rather more Darwinian route. So you've got this gene pool, and it's just from that gene pool you draw your ministers. Now, if your ministers have all come from this ridiculous sort of quota system, you don't end up with the right people, as I said earlier, holding the civil service to account and actually delivering for the British people who elect them. And I don't want to see that in our corporates. It usually happens in the big corporates and government agencies. You don't tend to find it happening to the same extent in private companies, because private companies are owned by individuals who hire people on the basis of merit because they want to see their company thrive. If you're an unaccountable quango, or you're an agency of some kind, you have an unlimited budget. You aren't necessarily subject to the same economic constraints as somebody running a private business, and therefore you can afford to indulge in these nonsensical, unfair practices. And we caught the Environment Agency out red-handed. We've caught a lot of other people out. And, it's the same with DEI. I mean, our policy will be to scrap every DEI-related job throughout the public sector. Again, if private companies want to hire some DEI guru, go right ahead. That's your money. You're spending your money. I object to my money being spent by the state on these people doing a job which ultimately creates division within companies and is damaging to the structure of our state institutions. So to me, it's quite straightforward. We would just simply scrap the lot. That will be part of the Great Reform Act of 2029.
God, it can't come soon enough. But first, you know how often I talk on this show about the need for free speech to be protected. My goodness, I believe it. But I've been increasingly thinking of the need for personal protection from snoopers, bad actors, and hackers online. And I'm delighted to tell you I've now found the fail-safe solution. But what's more, this VPN, or virtual private network to use the full term, is also a life changer when it comes to providing you entertainment and information from anywhere in the world, wherever you are. So let me introduce you to Surfshark, an incredible and easy to use service that encrypts all your internet traffic, meaning your online activity stays safe so you can shop, stream, browse, and conduct your banking online in complete privacy. But the benefits of Surfshark actually go way beyond keeping you safe. It also allows you, and this is what I love, to access your favorite entertainment and news shows and news channels or streaming services, all of the big ones, by the way, Hulu, iPlayer, Peacock, HBO Max, or the international ones. You can watch the geo-block shows on Netflix, Amazon Prime, or Disney Plus within seconds. It's also great if you're traveling for work or if you're just on holiday, but you want to get all of your favorite content from home, especially sports coverage. It's also a creeping I guess it's a creeping way to make sure that you're not impacted by the censorship that is going on in the world too, because some countries do block specific services. So effectively, to sum it up, you can watch anything, anytime, anywhere. This is true freedom. A VPN can also save you money because you can access websites that change their prices depending on which country you are buying from. There are other benefits too. Your whole household can be protected, and you can stay safe with just one subscription, which means you can use lots of different devices, tapping into over 3,200 servers in over 100 countries. Also, if this is your first time using a VPN, and my goodness, I recommend it. I promise you it's incredibly easy. I'm a customer myself. I love it. But there is 24/7 customer service available to you, which does make setting up just give you that little protection, actually, in case you're nervous about it. What's more, by the way, if you're not happy with Surfshark, they will give you your full money back at any point within 30 days. That shows you the confidence of their service. So how you can do this is go to surfshark.com/outspoken for an extra 4 months of Surfshark at an unbeatable price. Let me just repeat the address: www.surfshark.com/outspoken. If you are watching this though on YouTube or Rumble, you can just click on the link in the description box below. But now, back to the show. Just finally, I want to show you this video today, which seems to show the Westminster Council exclusively targeting those who can't speak English for subsidized housing. There has been an ad specifically made in Arabic, Bengali, Spanish, and French. Darren Grimes describes it as absolutely disgraceful. Let's just have a little look at a couple of these targeted advertisements.
فبراير عام 2025 وإذا كنتم من المسجلين بالقوائم سوف نقوم بإرسال معلومات إضافية إليكم مباشرة. شكرا.
আমরা আপনারা জানাতাম স্যার যে ওয়েস্টমিনস্টার কাউন্সিল আমরা হাউজিং রেজিস্টার সিস্টেম রে বদলাইতাম আপনারা লাগে.
Is that appropriate, Rupert?
Well, you know, Dan, I've been very active on this as well. I've done various questions which have thrown up how much is being spent by the NHS, to take one example, and other government departments on translation. Now, we are a country which speaks English. And if you come and live here, my view is you should speak English, you should conduct your life in English, and you should integrate with our culture and the way in which we operate. If you can't speak English, then you need to bring your own interpreter for which you pay, or you need to use AI or some other form of technology to solve your problem. It is not up to our state to start funding loads of translation for people who can't speak English. If you can't speak English, don't come here, Dan. You need to operate in English. And it's about time we started standing up for what we are. We've got a fantastic history. We're wonderfully civilized people. We've always been very caring about everything, even though we get a lot of abuse from what I call the colonial bashers.
Yes.
The fact of the matter is that if they want an example of bad colonization, go and look at the Belgian Congo. Don't start criticizing Britain. But at the end of the day, it's ridiculous. It's bonkers. And I think 90% of the British public would agree with that. So why are we doing it? That's the question. Why are we doing it?
Well, I love that you continue to put these difficult questions. You are very much putting the Snivel service on notice. Congratulations on a brilliant first 5 months as an MP. You have made a huge impact. And as I say, love what you're doing to Great Yarmouth. It's such a good place, but it really has been let down by multiple governments, actually. And it can become a really great place again. As I say, I have a very, very special place in my heart for Great Yarmouth. So thank you for all you're doing.
It's a great place, Dan, with some fantastic people.
Yeah.
But it has been let down largely by our membership of the EU and the damage that that's done to our fishing rights and our fish processing. And this scandal I've just outlined involves dumping around 300 tons of ammonium nitrate in their plastic bags into the ocean 12 miles off Great Yarmouth. Avoidable, another example of siloed quangos making bad decisions and then not being held to account. Well, I've done a lot of work on this and I'm raising it in the House tomorrow. I want a full inquiry. This is just a classic example of how Parliament has been undermined, its sovereignty has been undermined, and how these various quangos operate in silos. And when they make the wrong decision, they all blame each other. So, this is an example of, I think, gross abuse of position with no accountability. And I ask myself, how has this happened? How has the sovereignty of Parliament been so undermined? Undermined, Dan, to the extent that myself, as the local MP, was actually excluded from all communication. I had no idea what was going on in the background. And Great Yarmouth came within an ace of evacuation. No fly zones were put in place. And the local elected MP, who's supposed to be, I actually got a modicum of experience of dealing with ammonium nitrate. So quite apart from the fact I probably could have helped, I question, is it because I'm a Reform MP that I was excluded from all these communications? If not, what's the reason? And I'm sure the people of Great Yarmouth will want an answer to that question.
Big time. It is an absolute scandal. And I so appreciate all the work that you are doing. Reform UK MP for Great Yarmouth, Rupert Lowe, have a wonderful Christmas, because I think you've got a very busy 2025.
Thanks for having me on. Thanks for having me on, Dan.
Great. We'll speak next year, Rupert Lowe. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.